I want to tell you something that happened at my pharmacy counter more times than I can count. A patient would walk in, they hand me a prescription for metformin or glipizide or insulin, something for their diabetes or their blood pressure or their weight. I process it, I beg it, I call their name. And as I hand it over, I ask, do you have any questions about this medication? And almost every single time they say no. Not because they had no questions, but because they did not know what questions to ask. They had just spent 7 minutes with their doctor. They were told their blood sugar was too high. They were told they needed medication. They were handed a piece of paper and they came to me, and I had 3 minutes only with them. After 15 years, I decided 3 minutes was not enough. My name is Gibson Sigauke. I am a pharmacist. I have a pharmacy degree and an MGM, which is an equivalent of an MBA. I have been working in pharmacy for 15 years, primarily in clinical settings, working with patients managing diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and metabolic conditions. And for 15 years, that career has put me on one side of a pharmacy counter while patients stood on the other side carrying conditions that are, in many cases, completely manageable, sometimes even reversible. The gap between what I knew and what they knew was enormous. This channel exists to close that gap. Not with opinions, not with trends, not with what is popular on social media this week or this month, but with the same science-backed clinical knowledge I was trained on, explaining it in plain language that actually helps you make better decisions. Let me tell you what 15 years behind the pharmacy counter actually looks like. I have dispensed diabetes medication to patients who have been on the same prescription for 5, 7, 10, or 15 years, and whose blood sugar has never come under control. Not because the medication was wrong, but because nobody ever explained to them what the medication could and could not do on its own. I have watched patients take metformin faithfully every morning and still arrive at my pharmacy counter 12 months later with their A1C higher than when they started. And when I asked them, are you still eating the same way? Are you moving? The answer was usually yes. Same habits, same patterns, just a different pill in the routine. And I understood why. Because when you hand someone a prescription, the implication, even if nobody says it out loud, is that the prescription is the solution. Unfortunately, it is not. The prescription is a tool, and a tool without a context, without an understanding of what it does, why it works, and what needs to happen alongside it, is a tool that underperforms. Now, let me tell you the other side of what I have seen also. Because this is the part that actually changed how I think about everything. I have watched patients reverse type 2 diabetes, not just managing it, but reversing it, without surgery, without adding more medication, but through things like fasting, dietary change, and consistent movement. I have seen patients who were told they would be on diabetes medication for life walk back into the pharmacy 6 months later and tell me their doctor had taken them off the medication. Their numbers were normal. Their doctor was a bit surprised. The patients were not, because they had done the work. I have seen blood pressure come down. I have seen weight come off and stay off. I have seen inflammation markers improve on nothing more than change in what someone eats and when they eat it. And the common thread in every single one of those cases was this: those patients understood what was happening in their body. They did not just follow instructions, they understood the mechanism. They knew why fasting was affecting their insulin. They knew why protein mattered. They knew why sleep was not optional. They had connected the information to the outcome. And that connection changed their behavior in a way that prescription alone never could. That is what I want to give you on this channel. Here is what I know about health content online right now. There is an enormous amount of it, more than any one person could consume in a lifetime. There are videos, there are podcasts, articles, influencers, coaches, all of them telling you what to eat, what to take, what to do, what not to do. And most of it falls into two categories. The first category is content that is technically accurate but completely inaccessible. Clinical research presented in language that requires a degree to understand. Purpose behind paywalls. Guidelines written for practitioners, not necessarily for patients. And the second category of the information online is content that is accessible but not clinically grounded. Supplements sold without evidence. Protocols promoted without nuance. Dramatic claims with no citation behind them. What is missing online is a clinical professional speaking directly to patients in plain language, just explaining the science honestly, the same way I try to explain it at my pharmacy counter when I have more than 3 minutes. I am a pharmacist. My entire training is the intersection of biochemistry, pharmacology, human physiology. I understand how medications work at the molecular level. I understand how the body responds to food, fasting, exercise, and stress at the same level. And I understand from 15 years of patient interaction how to explain it in a way that actually learns. Every video on this channel will be grounded in clinical science. I will tell you the truth about medications, what they do, what they cannot do, what the risks are, and what the interactions are that your prescriber may not have time to cover within 7 minutes. I will tell you what I have seen work in 15 years of clinical observation, not just what the trials show, but what happens to real people in real pharmacies who implement real changes. I will cover metabolism, how it actually works, why it slows down, and what genuinely moves it in the right direction, not the 7-day promises. I will talk about real biology. I will cover blood sugar and diabetes, the conditions I have spent the most time with, in a way that gives you the understanding to have a more informed conversation with your own healthcare team. I will cover supplements, honestly, with evidence, so you can stop wasting money on things that do not work and start considering the things that might. And I will always, every single video, remind you that what I am offering you is for educational purposes. I am not your prescriber. I am not replacing your doctor. I am the pharmacist on the other side of the counter who has more time for this conversation than 3 minutes. That perspective matters to me, and I think it will matter to you, because a lot of the people I want to reach are people who have felt that same gap, the gap between what their healthcare provider knows and what they have been told. The next video I am going to be publishing is about insulin resistance, not because it is trending, because it is the single most important concept for understanding why your metabolism is doing what it is doing, and almost nobody has explained it in plain language that connects the biology to what you actually do on a Monday morning or a Sunday evening. And if that is useful to you, subscribe, because that is what every video on this channel is going to be: useful, honest. And remember, I have been a pharmacist for 15 years. I have a lot more than 3 minutes for this conversation right now. Let us get started.